All right, the ACE, the analysis and control element. That is the brain of a fighting army. So if we look at intelligence and we think about a human body, okay, we have senses: eyes, ears, smell, touching, feeling. That's our intelligence collection. All of the information, all the environmental stimuli that our senses collect goes to our brain. Our brain is the ACE. Our brain is the intelligence analyst of our body. Right? So if I'm trying to figure out how hot the stove is, I can put my hand on it, but my brain says, no, wait, there are other ways to collect this information. So what do? We take our hand, we hover it over the stove eye to see how hot it is. Okay? That's our brain forming an intelligence requirement that says, hey, go collect this information the most economical way, the least painful way. Right? It's the exact same thing with intelligence in a military or intelligence in a government. Back to the ACE. Everyone should have an ACE, right? Whether it's one person, hopefully it's not one person, and I'll get to that in just a second. But hopefully it's a team of people. The problem with having a one-man ACE, or maybe even a two-man ACE, is there is a very limited system of checks and balances. Intelligence analysis exists so that we can inform the commander of relevant, timely, specific information so that he can best prioritize his resources. Right? We have limited time, we have limited troops, limited resources. They have to be expended in the most economical way. We do that through intelligence analysis. So, form your ACE. Right? Start collecting some information, all right, about your community. Start with who lives near you, who lives in your neighborhood, what have you. Who your neighbors are. All right, so we talked very briefly about intelligence requirements. An intelligence requirement is a gap in intelligence, right? We call it an intelligence gap. Back to the stove. I didn't know how hot the stove was. That's an intelligence gap. My brain says, how hot is the stove? That's an intelligence requirement. Okay? So we've identified an intelligence gap, something we don't know. I don't know my neighbor's name. That's an intelligence gap. The intelligence requirement would be, who is my neighbor? We need to list out our intelligence requirements. Right? When we go collect information, it should be to fulfill intelligence requirements. If we're out there just collecting information as much as we can, right, we may be collecting the wrong information. We may be collecting a lot of useless information. So the ACE needs to get with the commander, identify the commander's intent. All right, what is the mission? How can the intelligence aid your decision-making process? So the next thing that everyone needs to do is go home, identify your intelligence gaps, write out your intelligence requirements, and start checking them off the list. All right, one by one. Here's what I don't know. Here's what I need to know. All right, and then through OSINT, open source intelligence, or human intelligence, or IMINT, imagery intelligence, Google Earth, right, all the ArcGIS, all the geospatial systems out there. Start collecting that information, satisfying the requirements. We're just answering questions. The next part I want to get into, after we have our ACE, right, after we're building our community, we need to get with our community and formulate a community defense plan. Right? Some kind of synchronized effort. Look, you do this, we'll do this, we'll take care of this. Here's what everyone needs to be trained up in. These are the roles that are mission specific, or these are the roles that are individual specific. Get everyone trained up. But at a minimum, your community defense network should include local law enforcement. Find someone who's willing to do ride-alongs. Find someone who's willing to volunteer in the local fire department. Chances are very, very good that in the event of emergency services are going to be the most expedient source of information. After emergency, right, post, SHTF, we're going to run into one of two problems. Number one is that we're not going to have enough information, or number two is that we're going to have too much information. Probably not going to be the latter. Right? Probably going to be the former. The information that we do get is going to be, especially if we don't have ham radio, hours or days or weeks old. By the time it gets to us, you know, it cannot be relevant, certainly not timely anymore. I'll go ahead and write this down. Intelligence is 5 things. All right, intelligence is these 5 things: timely, relevant, specific, accurate, and actionable, or predictive. Back to timely information. If the Leroy Jenkins gang is driving up Highway 60 towards Blairsville, you know, I want to know about it as soon as possible. Learning it as I see them approaching my driveway, you know, that's very timely, but it could have been a lot timelier. So, if we don't have ham radio, if we don't have some way to communicate threat information, that's one of the best things that we can do. Being able to receive threat information, I would say, is a lot more important than communicating in most circumstances. Next is relevant. We need to ensure that the intelligence we're collecting is relevant to the mission, is relevant to us. Learning stuff about, you know, I don't know, Coosa County, right, not relevant to us. I don't care about what's, all right, I don't immediately care about what's going on in some adjacent county to me, okay? It needs to be relevant to me. If it's not relevant, if it's irrelevant, I'm not going to worry about it. Next is specific. Knowing that the Leroy Jenkins gang is on its way to my bug out location, that's good. It's not specific. How many of them are there? What are they armed with? Right? Are they on foot? Are they driving by vehicle? Are they going to be here in 10 minutes or are they going to be here in 10 hours? Has to be specific. Next, it has to be accurate. If you tell me there's 10 Leroy Jenkins gang members, you know, coming up my road, and there's 100, right? That's not accurate at all. That's very inaccurate, and that's an intelligence failure. Right? That's why 9/11 happened. It's why all those fighter pilots in Vietnam were shot down. Partly, you know, because the NSA was not providing tactical information to them. Intelligence failures. Finally, that needs to be actionable, predictive. Okay. Knowing that the Leroy Jenkins gang is coming up Highway 60, that's actionable. Right? It becomes a lot more actionable when they say, yeah, they're at mile marker 73. It's accurate, specific, very actionable. Or predictive. Right? We start looking at the distribution of attacks, all right, on a timeline that the Leroy Jenkins gang, now this may not pertain to the Leroy Jenkins gang, but I'll tell you it definitely pertained to the Taliban and a lot of insurgent groups in Iraq. Right? We got a very good idea of their planning cycle, right? Their operational tempo. Right? Every Tuesday they were planning a new bomb, or they were planning a new IED, or they were launching mortar attacks, right? Every night or every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning when we were just trying to get a few hours of sleep. What can we expect next Tuesday? Another ID will be in place. What does that say about their logistics? Maybe every week they get a new shipment of explosives in, or maybe every week they got a new, shipment of pressure plates or, radio frequency RF devices. We can glean a lot of information from that. The planning cycle, attack patterns, right, it's exploitable. If we know the pattern, then we can exploit it. That's what we do with patterns. That's why as intelligence analysts, we must identify patterns. Right, so, predictive. Hey, you know what? The Leroy Jenkins gang robs a house every Tuesday night. Next Tuesday night, what can we expect? A Leroy Jenkins gang attack.